Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert. Do your own research. Okay, so I'm now back from vacation and traveling and New York, and I'm excited to get back to the market. So this is BTC USD on the weekly. I'm just going to be reviewing Bitcoin because I think that obviously Bitcoin is really just the driver for all of crypto and still is currently. And what Bitcoin does is what crypto will do. Now, I also want to preface this by saying that lines on a chart are really not going to be super helpful from a macro perspective. I think that it's going to really depend on equities and what macro does in terms of rate hikes and how S&P 500, all those types of things work. Bitcoin is really just going to be a derivative of those larger forces at play. So from a macro perspective, I can't really tell you where the bottom is. It's really going to depend on where equities bottom out at. And probably those have a little bit longer to go. But from a technical analysis standpoint, we can still look and see some interesting levels and where some SR levels might be, where Bitcoin might go later on, etc. So we have this red line here. This is the 200 EMA on the weekly. Traditionally, this is a pretty good area to bid. As you can see, in the past, this area has been like a pretty decent area of support. Last tested really strongly in March of 2020, the COVID crash, and price obviously closed above it and then traded above. Here, price just nuked below, and this is like something that's really interesting to see. It did not provide really much support at all, and price just continued lower. Now, the 200 moving average, this is not the EMA, so EMAs are more weighted towards more recent price action. Whereas just regular moving averages are just the average price over the entire period with no weighting. This is obviously an area of typical support as well, similar to the 200 EMA seen in March as well as 2019. But for now, price is still trading below it. So these two indicators are traditionally support levels that got broken fairly solidly and quickly. Now, if you look just straight from a price action perspective, I think that this current level, this is the former all-time high level. Obviously, this is it's traditionally going to be strong support. All-time high levels, large wicks in either directions. These are typically going to be areas that the market remembers. And we saw this here, this kind of 19.5K area. This area was support over the last few weeks. Now, I think if you see a weekly close below this area, it's going to get really scary. At that point, I think that you start to really consider kind of this 12K area. And there are going to be some other areas on the weekly that potentially could serve as support, such as this 16K area. That is like another area that's going to probably hold a support. Potentially this wick here up to $14,000. So there are some like small areas of support, but really I would mark this 12K area because it acted as resistance for quite a long time, all the way back in 2019. Before breaking higher. And I'm sorry, this is more like 2019 and 2020. This kind of resistance area. So that's kind of an area I would really look for if price starts to close below this 19K area on high time frame charts. But again, there are going to be some other areas such as 16K, 14K, and then ultimately 12K. Where price could eventually reach. So that's kind of Bitcoin on the higher time frame charts. If you look more on the 3-day as well, we'll wipe this here. And if you look on the 3-day, this kind of block of support here should act as support, and it already has right now. The first reaction was fairly strong. You can see this wick into this kind of demand zone. And I'm actually kind of a little mad at myself because I had a lot of orders all throughout basically 20K to 16K. and then I eventually pulled them just because I was traveling and I couldn't really actively manage the position. But I think this kind of entire area is it should act as support, and it already has. Now, whether this is going to continue to remain kind of this so-called bottom remains to be seen. But I think that either way, what happens if this is the bottom, this kind of 16K to 20K area, if this is the bottom, then we're going to see a lot of ranging around this area. Because bottoms usually take a long time to form, and you'll see that in some of my previous videos as well, in the sense that price is going to go ahead and just basically, I expect it to have a lot of volatility, and then kind of range for quite some time, weeks and months, before finding a bottom. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily the bottom. Usually for absolute bottoms to form, you want to see some sort of nasty capitulation wick. Back in 2018, that was obviously the 6K level right here, where price fell through, went 6K to 3K. And then obviously the COVID crash in March of 2020. This was obviously a really nasty situation as well, where price just dumped bad and then, V-shaped reverse. But the V-shaped reversal is fairly uncommon for Bitcoin, and I think that it's much more likely that Bitcoin has a long ranging price action over several months when the bottom is found. Again, I don't know where this is going to be bottoming out at. 16K to 20K is my hopeful. It's my hopeful. It's just really hope. It's all it is. It's not a prediction, because I can't really say where the bottom is going to be, but I do believe that it's going to take a long time. So what I'm trying to say is that when this bottom eventually forms, you are going to have time to accumulate, because if you look even back at the old Bitcoin charts back in 2014 and stuff like that, 2015, 2016, you'll see that Bitcoin traditionally has long accumulation cycles where it just chops around for a while. So, and I do understand that the market is quite different than now than it was back then, 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 7 years ago or whatever. But I still believe that Bitcoin is an asset that needs to accumulate for a long time before it moves very strongly. And yeah, so I'm really just waiting. There's two things I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for this capitulation wick. This could have been it. I don't know. It could have gone the 20K to 17K area. That could have been the last big wick. There is a lot of sell volume. I don't think the sell volume indicator is as good as it used to be because of how many exchanges there are. But I do think that we are seeing a lot of selling, and we're seeing a lot of forced selling now. But what I'm really looking for now is just a big capitulation wick. I don't know. That could have been it. Lots of volatility, and then a long ranging price action after that. This is really what I'm kind of looking for price to really truly bottom out. And I do think that much of 2022 is really just going to be spent chopping around. Obviously we're already in a massive downtrend already. I don't know what percent we're at now at this point. I mean, we're 70% there, and then we were 75% from the bottom. So, Bitcoin traditionally draws down even more. If you look at the past big drawdowns, I think 85% or something like that is traditional for Bitcoin. I'm not saying it will necessarily get to that point, but that was the last bear market in 2017, 2018, and then we obviously saw a big market nuke in 2020. From 2019 to 2020. But again, I don't know what the bottom is going to look like. I don't know where really the bottom is going to be. As I said, I did mark levels 16K, 14K, 12K. Those are the next levels up, so to speak. And I do think that I'm really just waiting, as I said, for the big capitulation wick. And that could have been it. I don't know. But I'm really just remaining patient. And I think that it's going to really just take a lot of time for price just chop around and consolidate for a long time to bottom out. And I know I can grab an entry lower. It doesn't necessarily have to be a long. I don't have to be precise at the long, because it depends on what style you trade, of course. I'm just going to just swing trade and just hope to accumulate anywhere from this like 20k to 16k area, and then kind of play it by ear. But I am going to have more ammo lower. I think it's shown that it's usually better not to just go all in these current market conditions, and it's really important to just be very fluid with your overall plan. So yeah, that's kind of my overall idea right now. Is I think for now this 20k to 16k area is going to be support, but to be determined if this is going to hold. It's really, as I said, really going to depend on the broader macro market before Bitcoin really truly bottoms out. I don't think that you can really say that Bitcoin is going to bottom just based on like TA in this regard. Yeah, this is kind of my overall idea, and for me, my current plan is just to go ahead and continue to bid 16k to 20k, and still leave more ammo for lower. Like, I'm definitely not putting more than 50% of my trading capital in this range, just because I am waiting for potential wick down. And if price trades higher too, then that's also fine with me, because I still have exposure to the market. I do have Bitcoin and Ethereum. If price does like eventually have some sort of bear market rally, which is certainly possible, of course. You saw a lot of bear market rallies back in 2018 and 2019, but the market is quite a bit different now than it was back then, and I don't necessarily think that you need to see like these like lower highs formed as evidence of this entire year. Really, we haven't really had many bear market rallies. We did see one in April, but that was kind of like the last true one, in my opinion, where we saw this lower high formed right here, and then price obviously nuked lower. This downtrend was quite a bit different than May, where price just got obliterated within like a several day span, and then it just chopped around after that, found a bottom, then went higher. This just like was a slow grind down with really not much of a lower high other than in April. It's been quite brutal. So yeah, anyways, it's like different contextually, but don't know if like this lower high will come, or like how it will come. I do think it probably will eventually. Something like going up to 29k would make a lot of sense for me before potentially going lower. But again, like, I don't know if there's enough fuel for Bitcoin to go to that point. Like, I don't know if there's enough buyers for that to happen. But at the end of the day, like, Bitcoin did like nuke really strongly, so a lot of the sellers might already be out. Like, there might not be any sell pressure on the way up. So yeah, those are kind of my overall thoughts. Right now, my plan is just to continue bidding 16k to 20k with more ammo lower, like 12k level and 14k level. And I'm just going to really just take it slowly because that's the style that I'm going to currently trade. So excited to get back doing some videos. Thank you so much for the support, guys.